Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 4th of July, also Independence Day for the Americans, and this is 𝗨𝗀𝗃 114. I see a few new faces in here, so it's worth saying. If anyone is new to Indexer Office Hours, this is the town square for graph ecosystem participants to come together and to discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. We love participation. This is a conversation. And so by that token, if you'd like to get involved, please do unmute your mic and partake via voice. If you're having any challenges there, let me know and I can try to get that sorted for you. Otherwise, we have the chat box in the corner there so you can type away and contribute in that fashion. This is going to be recorded as a reminder and distributed onto public channels like YouTube. So if you're concerned about privacy, bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's exciting agenda. As for opening remarks, I'm going to go with this 𝗨𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀 episode, which is 123 with 𝗨𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀, who is who's leading growth at 𝗨𝗃𝗀𝗀. 𝗨𝗃𝗀𝗀 is the DAO that brings together Web3 data analysts with blockchain projects offering on-demand data insights and tools. This DAO is pretty cool. They do a bunch of stuff in the ecosystem. So if you want to go check it out, as well as I will be checking out, if you want to go check it out, feel free to do so. I will grab the link here and then I will post in the chat there. Yes, America. Cool. And that is it for opening remarks. I will hand over to Anna, who's going to take us into our regularly scheduled Repo Watch.
Thank you, Abel, and hello, everyone. This week we have a really light repo watch, so I'll go straight into it. On execution layer client, we have had a new version of 𝗨𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀. This is version 2.48.0, and this version adds the 𝗨𝗨𝗂 activation time for Gnosis chain, and it updates block number for Polygon indoor hard fork. And that's it for execution layer clients. Our next release comes from consensus layer clients from 𝗨𝗂𝗃𝗀. This is version number 23.6.1. And this contains a couple of breaking changes. So first one is the development options, CLI flag X progressive balances mode, and XE version have been removed and will no longer be recognized as CLI options. And another breaking change, network configs were updating following consensus specs changes. So if you run custom network, you will need to add lines with network parameters to your custom config, including the dnab constants if required. And then we also have additional changes, updated Sigma primes, boot nodes, and increased the pending pool size for attestations. This 𝗨𝗂𝗃𝗀 release is a required update for Gnosis network operators, and it contains Gnosis 𝗨𝗂𝗃 fork configuration. And that is all we had this week. Please let us know if anyone has tried the new version of 𝗨𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃 or 𝗨𝗂𝗃. And with that, I will hand over to Juan. Matthew is telling us that 𝗨𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃 is syncing and you're trying it from scratch, and this is on Ethereum mainnet. Thank you. Over to you, Juan.
Thanks, Anna. Getting into Protocol Watch, we don't have a lot to cover as with Repo Watch, but we do have a few things, particularly from governance. Getting into it, GAP53, which is enabling substream-based subgraphs, which was previously called GP25. There's a small update regarding the graphics testing that was done, and all of the POI divergences have been spotted as an issue with the particular indexer/operator that was having some issues with the database or something along those lines. So POI divergences have been fixed, so to speak, or actually they were never there. It was just user error. But there's also a small update regarding like potential improvements to GraphNode to make it easier for graphics to get some of the cache and be able to do better comparisons and so on. So if you are interested in the SBS or substring-based subgraph story, be sure to keep up to date with that GAP. Next up, we have GAP51, which is exponential query fee rebate for indexers. This is something that was being implemented for a while, and that was basically in standby until we get the L2 story. So basically the L2 transfer tools ready. Given that the L2 transfer tools are soon to be done, basically this is just waiting for that rollout before we can deploy the exponential query fee rebates. Because, yeah, sorry about that, Abel. Because otherwise, if we basically rolled out everything together, it could create a little bit of chaos. We need to do it one at a time, make sure that everything's working, and avoid any unnecessary stress for everyone. On a side topic regarding forum governance, all of the transfer tools, I think, have been already deployed to production testnet. This is basically 𝗨𝗀 and 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗪. So yeah, we're testing it. We've been testing it in like private testnets, and now it's all rolled out to production testnet. So technically speaking, anyone that's running a 𝗨𝗀 indexer or both a 𝗨𝗀 and 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗪 indexer can actually try them out. But the UI is not. I think the UI is not yet deployed, but it will soon be, I guess. But the contracts on production testnet, so 𝗨𝗀 and 𝗨𝗀𝗪𝗀, are already there. So if anyone's like trying to try it out and it's a little bit like code savvy, you could probably do it as we speak. Next up, going into forum research, there's one core dev update, one of the monthly updates, which is Edge and Node. So if you want to get more data about what they're doing, what they have been doing the past month, it's the thread is in the agenda, so you can feel free to reach out. Edge and Node updates are usually pretty lengthy, so yeah, if you're interested in any of those things, the thread is in the agenda. Next up, we have the contracts repository update, which is basically all of the things that have been done the past week, mainly rebates for the exponential query fee rebates as we previously covered, as well as some merges of the previous Open Zeppelin audit fixes that have been done for the L2 transfer tool story. Network subgraphs, there are no new releases. Again, the releases are waiting on the L2 transfer tool contracts to be deployed on mainnet, which should be fairly soon, as we are basically in the late stages for that story. And that's pretty much it for 𝗏𝗏𝗀. So I'm going to hand it over to Abel now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Juan and Anna, for your sections there. So as for today, as many of you already know, it is the 4th of July, which is a celebration in the US. And so I figured there will be less folks here than normal. So we have an open style discussion. So as we normally do, I'll open it up to everyone. Any topic goes. Obviously, if it's indexer related, that'd be ideal, because we're all trying to help each other out and get better. We can discuss stuff. So I know Payne has some thoughts, but before we jump into that, let's go for it. So any thoughts in relation to any topics or any questions? Because there are many competent indexers here who we can trade notes with.
Can anybody share their experience with multi-network agent?
That is a great question. Anyone have any thoughts there?
I've managed to start it in single network mode. It runs fine. I'm gonna deploy it for, like, you need the YAML file basically to have it set up as multi-mode, but the problem is I think I might have to build the container from scratch though. Like build it on the machine itself, because you need to start it up with like a different startup environment. So
no, you can overwrite entry point. It's not a problem. You can run it with the current container.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. So yeah, I ideally just need a YAML file. I can supply you with like basic one, but basically all the environment variables that you were using before in the index agent container startup or environments there, they're turning into YAML compatible files basically.
But if we provide configuration via YAML files, why do we need to supply any network to CLI or something?
Wait, what do you mean?
I think that there is like network provider for the container itself should be like previously it was Ethereum, but now you need to provide any network provider like any node. But you also set it in the config file. Just kind of feels like duplicate.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I didn't know that you need to set it in like both as an environment and in the config file though.
I think it just won't start without network provider.
That's weird. Okay. I'll have a look at it and report to Tiago. It makes no sense to need for one of those because yeah, you need also to like supply it in the YAML files because otherwise the other agents won't work. So yeah.
Maybe I did it before I switched to start multiple mode. Maybe it was before, so I will check again.
Okay. Yeah, so by the way, keep in mind when upgrading from the like an old agent version to the latest, you will need to like first start in single network mode and only then supply the YAML file and everything for the multi-network mode, because otherwise it won't be able to do the database migrations necessary to run successfully on this version.
But how it will it look like? Because you just provide only single network, and it would be like
yeah. So if
okay
you
for migration.
ideally it would be to just start it with like just know that just only upgrade the version in the Docker YAML Docker Compose YAML file basically, or whatever however you're doing versioning. So only upgrade, keep the current config that was before. So for example, let's say you're running v16 agent, you only need to modify and pull the new version, like download the new version, start it the way you were starting it before. So with environment variables for everything. Yeah, let it run first and then only then upgrade to a YAML file config and do the rest.
It is weird because it didn't work for me, and I had to switch all of these environment variables to new ones.
Weird. Yeah, so I've tested it on my testnet break basically. From v16, I think I upgraded to like this branch. So for me, it worked, and the only thing I did was change the version in the compose file, basically.
Yeah, I changed the version, but it started to say that you don't need to set collect receipts endpoint and need to switch to gateway endpoint and all of these things, and didn't start.
Weird. Were you using the hosted service as the network subgraph?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, weird. I don't know. When did you try this, by the way?
Today.
Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah, I'll pull the new version and try it out. Seems weird. It shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I also will play a bit.
Yeah, keep it posted if you have anything else to report. I can relay it straight to people that work on this.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's mostly Tiago, I guess, but Ford should also be aware.
Amazing. Thanks so much, both. Steak Machine for bringing it up, and then also Payne for endeavoring to get that solved. There we go. Nice clap. Sweet. Yeah, so Payne, you wanted to talk about some Firehose stuff and home setup stuff. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, Firehose. Yeah, so I connected my my production indexer to Firehose after 2 weeks of testing it back and forth on testnet and seeing that everything works fine. And yeah, on mainnet, on production, we have like 600 subgraphs in sync and 10 or so syncing. Most of those are Ethereum mainnet subgraphs, right? So I thought, why not switch to Firehose and see how it goes? So I connected it to Firehose, and all the good stuff started happening. Old subgraphs that like my basically the chain head of Ethereum mainnet was jumping up and down all over the place. Because some like the cursor was like way behind from the last time I've connected the Firehose to my graph node. So it took like a day or so to stabilize and tell me the right chain head, basically block number. And then what else? A bunch of subgraphs started syncing from being dead, and then they died again. 5 or 10, I don't know. I think it's around more like around 5 subgraphs. Basically started syncing very, very slow. Like they were already at chainhead, and for whatever reason on Firehose they're like extremely slow to sync compared to Aragon. Yeah, things like that. It's super weird. I don't know if any one of you have any kind of experience running Firehose on production levels, but yeah, to me it feels like it's probably not yet ready to be recommended for the whole network to be used to use, basically. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear Matthew's thoughts on this.
Yeah, +1. But I mean, I already know his thoughts, more or less.
Yeah, what thoughts do you need to say?
I don't know what's up with Firehose. Like, why doesn't it work? How does it work for the hosted service, and it doesn't work for my setup? Like, it makes no sense.
Because you like to break everything.
All I did was follow the instructions.
Yeah, and then you synced it, then you changed from, not Firehose to Firehose, and then you changed from Firehose back to RPC nodes, and you confused the whole stack.
Oops.
So I think you did. This is great to understand that there's still some gaps. But I think when the hosted service switched from, RPC nodes to Firehose, it was probably done in a, I don't know what we call it, more controlled manner.
No, it was not
just flipping the switch.
No, someone just accidentally switched over to Firehose, and that was it.
Oh, all right.
Like, I kid you not, this is how it happened.
So they accidentally switched. So that sounds like that was not well planned either. So it seems to have some problems there. I don't know. So
I don't know.
I have lots of experience with Firehose, but not so much experience with GraphNode. So I can't really say too much here, other than the experience I do have is that whenever there's a problem, troubleshooting is painful. Is it a GraphNode problem? Is it a Firehose problem? Is the database corrupt? Where is the problem? It's really tough. So,
Is there
I
a
guess
way
that's my
to
comment on that.
is there a way to limit CPU usage on Firehose tier 1? Tier 1 is
Are
the
you
one
using
with like non-substream stuff, right?
Are you using Firehose or substreams? Just Firehose?
Well, both, but yeah, substreams aren't. So substreams are used by my testnet indexer, which I don't really need, but I'm trying to help out the team get some POIs and whatever. So yeah, let's say I need both substreams and Firehose.
Yeah, so Firehose doesn't use a tier 1, tier 2 concept. There's only tier 1, which is you connect the Firehose, you request blocks, it sends them.
Yeah.
Right? The CPU hogging thing is the substreams, which is you connect the Firehose, you say, I need this substream run. Oh, look, you want blocks processed since when? Okay, let's process 17 million blocks for you. Great. How many CPUs you have? So that's the thing that takes a lot of CPU. If you're doing, like, say, Uniswap, for example. But
Yeah.
I guess how many CPUs you can control, how many threads are run, and it's based on how much compute processing you have available. So if you set up no tier 2 nodes, then Firehose and substreams won't go any faster because there's just one node processing the data, and it will just process it one block at a time, just like Firehose. So if you want it to process more data, then you need to set up more nodes with the tier 2.
All right. What about just using Firehose to sync subgraphs? No substreams involved here.
Yeah. So I'm
It's basically
surprised
the
it goes
same.
slower, but it should be about the same speed. There shouldn't be any. It shouldn't be really faster or slower.
And what about limiting RAM? Like what process does eat a lot of RAM? Because when I connected it for the first time and it had the cursor back, well, last time, sorry, and the cursor was way back for like 4 weeks back in time, so it had to catch up all those blocks. It used 500 something gigabytes of RAM, including swap. So
What use RAM?
the
Graph node?
Firehose, no, the Firehose process basically.
Sounds weird.
Yeah.
Well, but you had a lot of subgraphs connected. How many parallel readers did you have running?
No idea. Probably just one. I don't know how do you know how many readers to have running? Like, is that a default?
You have your Prometheus exporter enabled?
Probably not. I have to check.
Step 1 of Firehose instructions: set up Grafana and Prometheus.
It wasn't set up by me. It was set up by Sebastian. So my task for this week would be to get it running on one of our one of our other machines, and connect it to our indexers. But I'll see.
So far as I know, each subgraph makes a connection to Firehose. So if you
Okay,
have
so let's say we
you
have
might have 500 connections.
Yeah, so let's say I have 400 subgraphs that are up to chainhead, so only syncing one block every 12 seconds, and 10 subgraphs that are catching up to chainhead from like block 2 million, say.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the subgraphs that are already up to chainhead, they basically shouldn't be eating any resources, like from the RPC.
Do they have ETH call?
Most of them, yeah, I think.
So then they're still going to do RPC calls to do ETH call.
Yeah, that's true. It goes to Aragon. Yeah.
So as far as I know, you get one thread in Firehose per subgraph.
Okay. Doesn't matter if it's a subgraph that's syncing from block 0 or a subgraph that's up to chainhead.
Correct.
Okay.
Because each subgraph can have unique filters that belong to that subgraph.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
So they all, as far as I know, there's a unique one. But you could check with someone who's more of an expert, like Stefan or Tiago or Ford or something.
All right. Fair enough.
But I believe that is That's how I count it anyway. One connection per subgraph. And there is a counter inside the Firehose, so it says number of active connections or something. So if you put that in your Grafana, you can see a chart of how many are connected.
So look, even now after I've done, like, I still have tons of subgraphs that are syncing and everything, and a lot of them at Chainhead. Firehouse is using 36 cores and 77 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
So it's still doing quite a bit of lift.
I guess when I think about Firehose, I go, oh, that's not much.
Yeah, but
my perspective is different than yours, right? If you're just comparing it to what an RPC node provided, right?
Yeah, I'm comparing it to 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀, basically, just running 𝗟𝗀𝗀 alone versus running Firehose plus 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀 for subgraph syncing. So using 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀 before, at least I didn't have subgraphs that were extremely slow to sync up to Chainhead, or like keep syncing after I hit Chainhead. Because with Firehose, I have at least 5 of them that are unable to sync up to Chainhead anymore.
Is it me or can I not hear Matthew?
Oh, I wasn't speaking.
Oh, okay.
Someone said that cricket sound.
Sure.
There you go. Thank you. Right. So what could be the problem there, Matthew? Like, why?
You're asking me about graph node questions. I don't know anything about graph node, so you need to go back to the experts.
Yeah, I wonder if Adam would know, but like he already knows everything that's going on with my indexer. So yeah, as long as he doesn't have an opinion, I guess there's no opinion to have.
Yeah. So
next thing I want to try is what Steph mentioned. So we rewinded a few blocks, but like those specifically those subgraphs that failed. They failed at a different number than they should have. So I want to rewind and delete the block cache from that period of time, and then see if they fail again at the same block or not. Very curious.
Yeah, there's lots of little edge cases to work through and figure out. Watching previous discussion on this topic, there has been a lot of edge cases fixed and probably many more to find and improve.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, by the way, I have a... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
What happens when you change RPC providers and there's a fork and this and when this... the number of weird conditions, it's crazy.
Yeah. It was the same with RPCs anyway, before.
Yeah. So I think one of the things to consider is, you're used to all the quirkiness in the RPCs. Like, how to get around, 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 doesn't sync, or, whatever, right? So now you got to learn all the quirks of how Firehose works. So that's the challenge.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. That's true. We're so used to navigating around 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀 and Geth nowadays. We take that for granted.
Yeah, so, interesting for me is when I started here, I had no experience with 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀 or Geth or any of those things. I just came with Firehose experience, and then like I'm trying to figure what the hell are you guys talking about with all this stuff, right? So I've had to learn all the Aragon quirks over the last year.
That's nice.
Right. So anyway, feel free to pick my brain on Firehose related quirks, but when it comes to Firehose plus Graph Node, I'm still learning. So
All right, cool. That's good to know. Hey, I do have a question around Firehose and substreams. Like I know, so on GitHub there's a Firehose or FireEth repository, and then there's also substreams repository. But somehow, if you just run the substream, like the Firehose package, it also comes with something substreams. What's the deal with that?
So the substreams GitHub repo has the substreams documentation. It also has the substreams CLI. So if you want to connect the substreams, and then I'm not sure exactly where the code is, that if it's in the substreams repo or one of the other ones, where it actually runs all the backend stuff. The thing with Golang is you create tons and tons of modules. It's like npm if you're a JavaScript developer. Right, so whenever you compile Firehose, it compiles, 100, 200 different components in order to build your Firehose binary, one of those components being substreams.
Got it, okay.
So yes, your FireEth contains the substreams runtime code.
Yeah. Because I remember we were only running one of those packages, and it's that one. Yeah.
Yeah, until you start running FireNear, 𝗨𝗪𝗀𝗃, 𝗨𝗪𝗀𝗃. There's many more Firehoses that you might run in the future. Or not, depending if you're interested in those other blockchains.
I guess at some point we need to.
So I don't know what the decentralization plan is for those to get them off the hosted service.
My hardware is ready.
So far, we've just been doing EVM compatible chains.
I mean, it's good to start with the easy parts. Well, we look here. Here's the thing. Like we thought EVM stuff would be easy to run by indexes, but as soon as we launched the MIPS program and we actually dove into running those chains, it suddenly wasn't that easy anymore.
Tell me about it. I just lived through this.
Yeah, I know, right? I spent numerous nights running the same code over and over and over again, expecting shit to change when writing the documentation for the new chains. It was a nightmare. I remember I was in the attic working up until like 5 or 4 a.m. and I finally get it out. It was for optimism that we didn't even launch on the MIPS program.
Yep, these EVM chains are all weird.
Yep, and it's literally nothing. Like nothing is the same when you compare it to any of the two. Everything is so different from one another, and it's always something that doesn't work. Something different that doesn't work. But yeah, let's do EVM chains. Should be easy. Not.
No.
Now I wonder how it is to run like Firehoses for Cosmos or Near. Like I guess Cosmos, it's kind of the same, right? It should be easy. They're all just Cosmos SDK stuff. Not.
Yeah, they're all Cosmos SDK, but they're all slightly different.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing with those Cosmos SDK chains is you need the right binary to replay the right part of the chain. So if you want to sync all the blocks from Genesis, you need like 15 binaries for Osmosis.
Oh, Jesus.
And you have to upgrade the binary at the right block height and then proceed. So have fun when you go to sync those from Genesis. It will take you at least 6-8 months to sync from Genesis.
Ooh. Oh boy. And how many terabytes? Like how many hundreds of terabytes actually?
Oh, they're not that big.
Oh, really? Okay, that's encouraging.
Let me get you some numbers here. Hold on.
Like I don't mind syncing for half a year or something, as long as it's not like 500 terabytes.
Yeah, we're not doing Solana, right?
Thank God.
This archive is like 9 terabytes or something.
What's 9 terabytes?
Osmosis archive.
Oh wow, 9 terabytes. That's big.
Yeah, Tendermint chains eat a lot of storage for some whatever reason. Even though the more basically empty chains, they still eat a lot of storage.
Okay, so suddenly having 360 terabytes of flash memory, it's too small now. Shit.
Can you use the Cosmos visor in combination with the Cosmos fire hoses? You know, to go to the binary updates automatically.
I did not manage to get that to work, but presumably you should be able to make it work. But it might need some improvements. I wrote my own version of Cosmos Visor, basically. That passes all the right flags to the firehose executable.
So wait, you need to like change the version every couple thousand of blocks or whatever?
Whenever they need a governance proposal to update the binary, you need to split up that exact block. You need to swap the binaries.
Oh God!
The binary it will just halt, so it doesn't corrupt or anything.
Okay.
It just stops working. It stops
unless there's a hot fix, which then requires you to manually stop at exactly the right block. Otherwise, it does corrupt, and then you have to roll back.
Yikes! Well, at least you can roll back and not destroy your data, right?
In the planned upgrades, yeah, it works fine because the binary just stops at the block and it says I don't have the right one, and then you just change it and then away it goes. So,
yeah.
There is no debugs head for Tendermint chains. You need backups to revert.
Yeah, you have to backups to go backwards.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, so we have like terabytes of backups for Osmosis. In case we need to replay the chain, I don't want to wait 8 months.
What's the speed that you copy over from like cold storage to NVMe? Like say you have your backups on HDD. Like what's the like what RAID config are you running and how many drives and everything? Because I'm curious how long it takes to like put back 10 terabytes.
How fast is your NVMe storage?
Say 7,000 megabytes. Yeah.
That's the fastest. The speed at which you can write to the NVMe storage is the speed that you can recover from the HDD array. Well, in our case.
Okay,
because our
interesting.
HDD array has 130 disks in it.
I was thinking of going for something like 48 times 2. Yeah, something like that. Like 2 48 drives arrays.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know.
We have a 2 petabyte, HDD array.
I think I'm going like maybe half of that.
Yeah, if you want to keep old backups, it uses up really fast.
Yeah, 2 petabytes here as well. Gonna be yeah. So okay, yeah, I know now. I'm gonna max out the NVMe speeds. Okay, that's good. That's good. Very good.
You need the 40G networking plus the fast NVMe drives plus.
No, they're just connected via JBOD. Well, that's another question. Should it be JBOD or should it be like its own proprietary like server?
Just bunch of disks is how we do things.
Okay. And how are you connecting those from like external SAS connectors, right?
Just over the Ethernet network.
Okay.
That's why we have the 40G networking.
No, because between main servers, I have 100G dual ports, basically, like two 100G ports. And for connecting storage, each of the servers has its own JBOD array of 48 disks, basically. And those 48 disks are interconnected to the server via external SAS adapters. Well, yeah. Like a SAS controller, which
Sounds
does...
fast.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, it has to bottleneck somewhere, but if we're talking about, like, hard drives, I don't think it bottlenecks.
However much storage you have, you will run out. Guaranteed.
Well, then I guess I'll maybe put a bunch more disks in, like NVMEs. Because I'm quite sure the moment we add BSC and a bunch of testnets, then I'm surely gonna need more disks.
Yep. That's, we're running BSC, Polygon, Ethereum, Osmosis, Cosmos, Airwave. Just a few chains that take a little bit of disk space.
Yeah.
Anyway, good news is those fire hoses do work when you're ready to start running them.
Do you think that we'll ever see Firehose processing in the sense that it extracts the data from a synced archive node rather than sync it from Genesis block?
I believe you will see such a thing. However, it will give you light firehose blocks. It will not contain everything because it's not possible to get everything from an RPC node. So that's the easy way to scale EVM chains. Just set up your normal RPC node and then do get block 1, get block 2, get block 3, and then voila, you have a fire hose with all the blocks. So we'll see if that happens.
What kind of differences would there be between the light version and the full version?
I'm not the expert in this area, but I believe not all the state changes can be understood or something. I don't know the details. I should probably not try to explain it. If you want to know the answer to that question, tag 𝗨𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗀 from Streaming Fast in your question and ask on Discord. But anyway, yeah, we might see such a thing because that's a quick way to get like Arbitrum, Optimism, whatever all those other EVM chains are done.
Yeah, I would say the same with the bigger Tendermint chains. I think most of them have archive snapshots available somewhere. And I would reckon it might be a lot faster than trying to sync it, because I remember that when one of the RPCs goes offline and for like a week, it takes a while before it catches a chainhead again. So if it needs to process a few years of Tendermint blocks on say Osmosis or Cosmos, that's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, that's why I said like 8 months or something, maybe longer. But I did keep backups for those chains. So if we need to replay, I have the backups from every few weeks, taking up all that disk space. So we can run it in parallel faster if we need it. So Abel, you got any other topics?
It is an open session, so no topics planned, and 4th of July as well, which is why it's another open session. So if you'd like to bring anything up in the last 10 minutes, you're more than welcome to.
I love this.
That one is used quite a bit. We can also wrap for the final. We'll give everyone 10 minutes back as well if there aren't any topics. So I'll give people maybe another minute or so, 30 seconds, in case there are topics that people want to discuss in the last 10 minutes.
I think if Alex from Streaming Fast Team was here, it would be cool to hear what he has to say.
It would, and I did put in the chat if folks would like to hear or partake in a fireside chat or an AMA with Alex, we could probably get him on. So if there's sufficient demand, we can arrange for that to happen. So.
So which emojis do you need? Some thumbs?
Yeah, sure. Thumbs up sounds good. Heart, thumbs, yeah, whatever makes sense. Let's do a thumbs up. You could do as many emojis as you want, but just so I can gauge, if you could put a thumbs up, that'd be great. Okay, I see a few thumbs up here, which is good. All right, seems like people are interested. So yeah, we'll definitely try to get that sorted out. I'm loving the emojis. Look good.
Payne, why the France flag?
Because I was too lazy to find the Canadian one.
Really? There.
It was just popping out. There you go. Thank you. French was close enough, you know. No fucking way. I love this. Question, Matthew. So you guys are running Ceph basically for like your shared JBot Impress, basically, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. How, like, I suppose it's also like similar to ZFS in some ways, right?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Well, depends how you define similar.
Can you create like weird RAID arrays with it?
No.
Okay. And how does how does it handle RAIDs then?
It doesn't. It sees the raw disks and then it puts it all in a pool, which then you can allocate for various things.
All right.
You could like mount it as a remote disk mount. You can create an S3 bucket. You can, do iSCSI or whatever other protocol.
Okay.
So it has its own management layer, and if you want to connect to the disks, you need a client that knows how to talk to Ceph. that
Got it.
can use the storage.
So in theory, you
we're
can't
just
just
using object storage.
okay.
But you can mount it like NFS. You can use NFS.
Yeah, because I was wondering if I should just use the hard drives as backup only, or double the use case and use those as firehose block storage basically as well.
The one thing about Ceph is it doesn't like small files,
Okay.
which is a bit contrary to how Firehose uses it. So I'm playing around with Seaweed FS,
Seaweed for that. Okay.
and I'll see if it does better. If it does, then I'll just keep Ceph for the backups and then use Seaweed for the Firehose block. And Seaweed can run over top of something like ZFS. So you've got ZFS
Is there
and you
a
run Seaweed
benefit?
on top of it. Or it can just run on RAID or whatever.
But is there a
So
benefit from using Seaweed FS on top of ZFS?
I don't know. I didn't get that far in my investigation.
Oh, okay.
So Ceph wants to manage all the disk itself. It has its own on-disk file format. So it just wants raw JBOD.
Just like ZFS, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, Seaweed FS runs on top of an existing file system.
So what's the advantage of using Seaweed FS then?
It's just your object store, your S3.
Okay. Something that I never understood how it works, but yeah, I'll just ask ChatGPT, I guess.
Sure. All right, I want to see if Seaweed can scale.
Keep us posted because I'm curious. Like I need to like. Hopefully I get to order the server this week, so it's gonna be like 3-4 weeks until they arrive. So until then, I need to have like a solid plan and like how to put everything together in terms of like infrastructure. Oh yeah, I initially started with like thinking of doing ZFS for everything, and yeah, no, we're just gonna RAID 0 most of the things. Because with ZFS, I fear that I'm going to lose so much performance. Like I'm paying $2,000 for each drive, or $4,000 for the biggest, and cutting the I/O, the write I/O in like 4 to 8 times. It's basically gonna ruin everything.
When PCIe 5?
It doesn't even then. I don't think it's gonna be worth running ZFS for blockchain applications.
Well,
mainly because of
your experience.
Sorry?
I will be interested in your experience. Keep us posted.
Yeah, I want to do some apples to apples comparisons when the servers arrive, but like I don't know how to simulate that much I/O other than just forced tests through FIO or whatever. Because like I can put like, I think we're gonna have like 40 something disks. I can put everything in RAID 0 and test for fun. I don't think I have enough CPUs to handle this type of abomination, but yeah, we can test things.
Yeah, the challenge is trying to generate a test that matches the load pattern that you're gonna have.
Yeah, that's true, and you can never predict the load pattern when it comes to RPCs and syncing subgraphs and everything, because 1 week you're gonna have like 100 subgraphs that you're going to sync from scratch, and the other week only 5. Yeah, it's a mixed bag, and sometimes the chain might be slower or faster. It used to be the case with Ethereum before the merge. So yeah, even now it has some weird fluctuations. Like it should be 5 blocks per minute, but instead it's like 4.6, 4.7, which shouldn't be the case because Ethereum has fixed block time now. So yeah, weird. If anyone has an explanation for that, let me know because I can't figure out why. And the same thing happens with Firehose as well. It's not just Aragon, so it's not. I don't think it's platform specific. Oh, Anton says I heard it's some MEV stuff. Okay. Interesting. So MEV is always to blame, no matter what the hell happens to any blockchains. MEV stuff is the thing to point at. I get it. I'm joking.
Okay, let's go.
What's that?
Juan found the TikTok board.
My name is Jeff.
All right. Before this call ends up in some degeneracy, I will say that it's been a pleasure. Thank you all for attending. You're at the top of the hour, and as always, if you guys want to stick around and just vibe, you're more than welcome to do that. Thank you for the applause there. Very, very kind of you guys. Jesus Christ. So if you guys would like to stick around and vibe, you're more than welcome to. But as far as the official IOH, we're going to wrap it up. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. See you guys.